Now, normally this is where I say you got good news and bad news. Which do you want first? You always say bad news. Then I go, Dennis, what are you most concerned about? But mine are linked for Wake. We're starting with Wake Forest. So I'm going to give you them both at the same time and explain myself. Then we'll go over to dinner.
Okay, go for it.
My concern is they're bad is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
My confidence is they're good is really good. Their last two games are a perfect example of Wake Forest this year. They scored 47 points against UVA and then 91 against Pitt. They darn near doubled themselves up. Now, you may say UVA is a better defensive basketball team than Pitt. They are. Are they 45 points better? No.
No.
They're not. Wake Forest is way too good of a basketball team to be held to 47 points by anybody. But then you watch them against Pitt and you go, they're never going to be held to 47. Why would you even make that point? And you have to point out they did last game. I said I was out. I'm still out. One dominating game against Pitt will not change that for me. But it does confirm, I think they can beat anyone on any one day. I don't think they are consistent enough to win 4 games in a row against highly talented opponents. Right? I don't think they're good enough to go on a stretch and go deep into a tournament where you're playing only against teams that are really, really good, because we've seen them just not be. I've been saying Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I think it's got to be more dramatic than that. It's like, I don't know. I'll use a Marvel example.
Go on.
It's like arm wrestling the Hulk or Banner. Right? It's either he's impossible to beat or you're going to win every time. And by like halfway through the first half, you're just watching the game like, not good Wake today. Congratulations, UVA. Or you're watching against Pitt halfway through the first half and you're like, tough break, Pitt. You're going to lose this one because good Wake showed up. Then it had nothing to do with you. That's my confidence, and my concern for Wake Forest is just them. What do you got, Dennis? Start with concern.
My concern, playing on the road. They're 9-6 in the ACC. All 6 of those losses have come on the road. All 6 of those losses have come on the road. Now, granted, they were at Carolina, Duke, Virginia, Pitt State, and Florida State.
They happen to be against the 6 best teams.
But they're the top half of the conference. But that's the thing, is that if you want to elevate yourself, you can't lose games on the road against other quality teams, especially if you're trying to make the NCAA tournament. But they're 14-0 at home this season. That's my confidence. They're 14-0 at home this season. So they have Duke coming up at home this weekend. If they win, not going to be shocked one bit.
If they play like they did against Pitt. I think this can become a mental thing.
Yeah.
Where, if the first 3 teams you play on the road just happen to be really good and you lose them all, then all of a sudden it creeps in. Because, I get it, right? I know that Vegas in football, it's a 3-point swing, right? If the 2 teams would have been a pick'em, meaning evenly matched on a neutral field, and you're playing at one of their homes, they get 3-point favorite. I get that it matters. I never expect it to matter as much as it does. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's when I was played in college, football, different sport, but still, I liked playing on the road. I liked going into someone else's house and winning. I enjoyed that. And I think most athletes, especially the athletes that are wired in a competitive enough way to play at the highest level of basketball like the ACC, I think they're wired in a similar way. It's weird to me that they've been so good at home and so rough on the road.
They have, right now, based off what I'm looking at, they have 1 road win in the conference. That's at Boston College, which was their first road game in the conference. But they lost at Florida State, then they beat Virginia at home. Then they lost at NC State. They beat Louisville at home, lost at UNC, lost at Pitt, beat Syracuse, Tech, and NC State, Georgia Tech, that is, all at home. Actually, I'm sorry, they won at Georgia Tech on the road. So they have a couple road wins, but against teams that are actually with a 500 or better record in the conference, they can't beat them on the road. So that's my concern and my confidence.
And your confidence, home and away. So both of them are linked. That just shows how much Wake Forest is They wake up on game day, flip a coin. Well, actually, for you, it's be on the road. UNC, surprisingly, they were the bronze medalists this week. What's your concern when it comes to the Tar Heels?
My concern for them is because they were playing at such a high level of defense. I feel like some of their defense has taken a step back a little bit, especially when it comes to off-ball. I don't feel like they have been as good recently in terms of closing out off-ball, the way they handle on- and off-ball screens. So defensively, they've taken a little bit of a step back. It's far better than what it was when they played against UConn and some of those other games earlier this season. But I feel like their defense has regressed slightly a little bit.
My concern is we've seen them lapse in concentration.
Yeah,
like now
that probably ties in some with defense.
True. Now that we've seen that like 3-game stretch where it was like, what happened to the Tar Heels? I know that they're capable of going through a 3-game stretch where I say, what happened to the Tar Heels? And that's my concern because I'm not saying I wouldn't expect them to lose games, right? They're not a completely flawless team, but with how many veterans they have, with how many guys who have been around a bunch and this is their last go-around, I would have expected them not to have that like 3, 4, 5-game stretch where, the urgency dissipated a bit. So now that I know they can do it, I'm going to be worried that they will do it until they go the season without doing it, if that made any sense. That's our concern for Carolina. Let's get to the fun part. What are you confident in when it comes to Carolina?
I'm confident that they can adapt their game to whomever they play against. Because you have a versatile player like Harrison Ingram. Because his ability to, even seen it happen recently in games where you have both Withers and Baycott down low, and you have Harrison Ingram at 6'7" playing the 3. I'm like, guys don't have that in college. Teams don't have that in college basketball. That luxury piece where you can actually move him around and able to do a lot of different stuff, where you can actually put him on the wing offensively and you can truly play big down low. That is such a matchup advantage that most teams don't have. So to me, it's their ability to adapt and adjust their lineup depending on who they're playing against, I think is the biggest advantage. It's their versatility with their lineup.
And he's 6'7", but he's 6'7" in height, but he's probably 9.5 in play. Like, I would trust him to guard someone who is 6'10", right? I would trust him to guard somebody he plays bigger than his listed height. So when he's playing the 3, you can really overwhelm someone with height. And also, if you guard him with someone that's 6'7", it's mouse in the house, right? It's let's
he's stronger.
It's let's go down low. It's let me bully, which it's not fair because he's 6'7", right? If you guard him with someone that's 6'7", you should be like, all right, we got a good, and at least an even matchup there. But it's not. You have to guard him with someone who's 6'9" and 15 pounds heavier, and then also be able to run with him. It's tough. He's a very good player. And he's half of my confidence in the UNC Tar Heels.
I think I know what the other half is.
You want to take a guess?
It's Ingram and Baycott.
Yeah, it's a Baycott and Ingram and Baycott, however you want to put it. As a front court, when those two guys are clicking, I'm not sure there's a front court I'd want in the ACC elsewhere. They feed off each other well. Ready for this? This is a cross-sport analogy that I think many will understand here.
Go on.
Orlov and Chatfield.
Okay.
Right? Orlov came in, a lot of hype, maybe underwhelmed for a little bit, but he's figuring it out, getting going again. Chatfield came in, a little less hype, but he's actually in some ways covering for Orlov, running around behind him, using his athleticism, in Chatfield's case, extreme speed, and Harrison Ingram, in his case, extreme versatility. But it's allowing the other version to get going again. So, I just think they're a pair that plays well together. Their skill set very much puzzle pieces together in a way that, Baycott's pretty much like, I got to be down here on the block. Harrison Ingram's like, cool, I can go to the perimeter. That works. Ingram will be like, I'm going to grab 10 rebounds today. All right, that's fine. I'll get 17 over here. They play off each other well. State up next, NC State. What's your concern with NC State?
Where their mental space is right now, because they got to be looking at the standings, and they probably hear like their shot to make the NCAA tournament is razor thin right now. It's basically like we said, you got to win the ACC tournament. So where's your mental space at, like, going into that? Because they've lost so many close games this season. So many. And here's the thing with their record. You flip 2 of those games, you're looking at a completely different season. Completely different season. They've lost so many close games. I'm just not sure where their headspace is right now.
Mine isn't their headspace, but it might be contributing to why you're concerned about their headspace. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I've been harping on now for weeks. Their rotation. You learn something when you're around athletes, when you talk to athletes, when you cover athletes, when you used to be an athlete. Athletes are routine creatures.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They grab the same color Gatorade before the game. I was just listening to a podcast with Patrick Beverly. He was talking about when players get out to the field or the court in the NBA before the game. He's like, most guys are around 18 minutes. I'm a 17:43 guy. Like, he was that specific. I'm a 17 minutes and 43 seconds is when I get out on the court. They're routine oriented. How in the world can Jaden Taylor, Michael O'Connell, really so many of these perimeter and bigs, Mo Diarra, Ben Middlebrooks, how can they be routine oriented when they're like, yeah, I might play 15 minutes, I might play 30 minutes? Right? How can they play confidently knowing, hey, if I make a mistake, I'm still going to get my shot, if occasionally they make mistakes and end up playing 14 minutes? Like Michael O'Connell yesterday did not play much for NC State, especially by his last month's standards. Didn't play great at the beginning of the game. But for the last month, if he didn't play great at the beginning of the game, he had the ability to play through it and try to get better and try to fix it and try to get back into a rhythm. And then yesterday, he didn't. And that's so tough mentally to get in any kind of a routine. I mean, imagine if a quarterback throws like 2 bad passes early in the game and then you're just like, cool, you're not going to throw ever again. Or, hey, cool, we're benching you. Guess what? They're going to be way more uptight. They're going to be way more nervous early in games. Their rotation concerns me. Unless your name is DJ Horn or Casey Morsell, then you're going to play a lot. And they've been the 2 constants all year long. Dennis, what are you confident in?
You said his name, DJ Horn.
I'm going to co-sign. DJ Horn's my confidence.
The run that he's on in terms of scoring right now, I challenge anyone to find another player in the country doing what he's doing right now in terms of scoring.
It's a good question.
I mean, seriously, over the last 3 weeks, what he's been putting together, basically the month of February, no one in the country scoring like he is.
There was a 3-week stretch where R.J. Davis was doing it, but that was like 2 months ago.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and look, but I think Horn's output is higher than what even R.J. Davis
wouldn't be surprised. The facts of the matter is, and this is like if I were a hooper, as they say, and I said this about DJ Horn, I think it's like the ultimate compliment. Dude is a bucket getter.
Oh, yeah.
He gets to his spots, he gets to his shots, and when he can't, he finds a way to make the tough ones. The game winner against Clemson is the perfect example. It's a tweener shot. It's just somebody that, is feeling it, has a good sense of body control, and he finds a way to put it in. And then he follows it up with 32. I mean, he's a bucket getter, a walking bucket, if you will. And dude is a bucket. And just say bucket and like hoopers will be complimented. DJ Horn, bucket. And finally, Duke. What are you concerned about when it comes to the Duke Blue Devils?
To me, it's still depth right now, especially with Tyrese Proctor having recently dealt with the head injury that he suffered against Wake Forest. He missed their last game. I'm not entirely sure if he's playing tonight or not. I haven't seen anything. But nonetheless, even if he is healthy, I still have questions about the rotation because really they're using about 6 guys. That's it. I mean, it's Filipowski, it's Mitchell.
When Proctor is playing.
Yeah, when Proctor is playing. It's Filipowski, it's Mitchell, it's McCain, it's Foster, it's Roach, it's Proctor. It's really those 6, but you take one of those 6 out, it gets really, really thin after that. So to me right now, it's their depth because once you start getting into the tournament time, that's when your depth really gets tested, or lack thereof.
Mine is similar, but just a hair different. Mm-hmm. It's fatigue.
Okay.
Because they aren't playing a lot of guys. But what we've seen is, their most recent game, Proctor didn't play. They played great, right? They won the game. They handed a good team in Florida State a loss. They didn't need to play 8 guys. The problem is how long is that sustainable, right?
Yeah.
If you're playing 5 or 6, even if you really like those 5 or 6 can be studs. They can be the dream team starting 5. If they're the only ones playing, will they get tired, or do they have the unbelievable motor to just keep rolling?
We saw Hubert Davis do this a couple years ago when they got to the Final Four and actually national championship game. It was basically riding the same 5-6 guys.
And it's like choosing not to get tires on the final pit on a NASCAR race, right? It's you're either going to make it or you're not. It's either you're
right
either,
side only. Let's go.
Yeah, you're either going to cross the line and be good, or it's gonna blow up in your face. And that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Like, either these guys are good enough for the last 5 games or whatever it is into the ACC tournament, and their adrenaline will carry them, or you're gonna have to at some point in time look at these guys and say, you need a nap. You're exhausted. I think you're cranky. You're hangry. Get a protein bar and a nap and come back, because I'm not dealing with you right now.
Grab a pack of crackers, a little mini Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and then chill out in the corner. Play a video game. Do something. What are you confident in for the Blue Devils?
My confidence is in Jared McCain, but it's not just because of his scoring ability. To me, it's actually what he does both defensively, on ball, and rebounding. He has double-digit rebounds in 4 of the last 6 games. Double-digit rebounds for a 6'3" guard. And when I was at the Wake Forest game asking him about that, he was very much like, I'm being encouraged to actually go to the rim and actually get into the paint and rebound the basketball. I'm not, there's a shot that's missed, let's just drop back on defense. No, go attack the rim. Get into the paint, get in there with the bigs, and pull down rebounds. He's encouraged to do that. And to me, that's where he separates himself from other guards.
That and the shooting.
Well, I said outside of his shooting.
He also separates himself by being maybe the best freshman shooter in the country.
And there's that.
And that's big just because they are not the deepest team down low. They aren't the biggest team in the post. So anything your guard can give you as far as rebounding and or rim protection, anything along those lines is wildly important. Mine was just Jared McCain. Just from a broad sense, the shooting, the rebounding, the defense, the leadership, the energy, the heartbeat that he brings to the team. It's just Jared McCain. And he's that good, and he's that important, and he needs to continue. I actually think that's one of the bigger challenges for him is, once you're the engines don't get to take a day off, right? Mm-hmm. You're the guy. If you're not going, the car's not moving. So it's a game in and game out thing for you now, which is an honor, but a responsibility.